Imagine a world where the continents were one. No Europe, no America, no Asia, Africa, or Australia. Only a colossal landmass, a single sprawling titan of stone and soil, surrounded by an endless, raging ocean. A world of fire and storms. A world where deserts stretched beyond the horizon. A world alive with creatures both familiar and utterly alien. This was Earth, not as we know it today, but Earth 250 million years ago. This was Pangea. Good evening. I'm the Sleepy Doctor, and tonight, I'll take you back, far back through the folds of time, to witness a world that once was and will never be again. If you enjoy journeys like these, please remember to like this video and subscribe. That way I can continue to craft more adventures, to soothe your nights and to stir your imagination. Now, close your eyes if you wish. Let my voice guide you. We're standing at the edge of deep time. The age of Pangea awaits. Picture yourself high above the earth, drifting silently as if in orbit. Below you don't see the globe you know. No patchwork of continents scattered like puzzle pieces. Instead, there's a vast, singular expanse of rock and forest, mountain and desert. Looks alien, yet hauntingly familiar. Pangea. The word itself means all lands. And indeed all land was one. To the north, frozen tundra stretched into eternal night. To the south, sweltering heat pressed against the land, squeezing life into strange and resilient forms. At the heart, deserts of a size so overwhelming, they would swallow whole modern nations without trace. The air was heavier, the winds wilder, the storms beyond comprehension. Beneath your feet, Earth's heart was restless. The tectonic plates, those colossal slabs of stone drifting upon molten seas, were chained together in uneasy truce. But even in stillness they trembled. Heat bled upward from the mantle. Volcanoes scarred the surface, painting skies with ash and fire. The night would not have been silent. Across Pangea, one could hear the distant groan of Earth's crust cracking, splitting, straining. The land itself was alive, breathing, shifting, yearning to break free. This was not stability. This was tension. And tension always seeks release. Walk with me into the heart of Pangea. Sand. Everywhere. An ocean of sand, vaster than the Sahara, swallowing the horizon. The air is dry, so dry it rasps against your lungs. Rain is rare. Rivers are scarce. And yet, life clings here, stubborn, resilient, fierce. Strange ferns, spindly and hard, rise where moisture dares linger. Insects, armored, colossal compared to those you know, crawl and fly, clicking, buzzing, hissing. The silence of the desert is broken only by the sigh of wind. A wind that has traveled across thousands of kilometers without a single mountain to break it. Imagine the loneliness of that sound. Endless, haunting. And yet, in that silence lies beauty. The sunset over Pangea's deserts burned deeper, richer, redder than any modern sky. Dusk turned twilight into fire, until night fell like a velvet curtain. Above the stars blazed, not as they do today but sharper, clearer, untouched by city lights, framed by a younger atmosphere. The Milky Way stretched like a river of eternity, and beneath it, Pangea slept. But deserts were not all. Follow me further north, through the shifting winds into valleys where moisture lingers. Here the forests of Pangea rise. Towering trees, taller than modern skyscrapers. Primitive conifers, giant horsetails, cycads. Plants that today seem small curiosities in gardens were, in this ancient world, titans. The air here is heavy with oxygen. Insects grow to monstrous sizes. Dragonflies with wingspans as wide as eagles. Millipedes the length of cars. The undergrowth rustles not just with lizards and amphibians, but with the strange ancestors of mammals, creatures half reptile, half beast, their eyes gleaming in the half-light. This was a land before mammals, before flowers, before birdsong. The forest hummed with a different music. The hiss of insects, the croak of amphibians, the low growl of predators we can only imagine. And in the canopy above, time whispered, a world becoming yet unfinished. Do not forget the waters. Surrounding Pangea was the Panthalassa Ocean, vast beyond comprehension. Imagine a sea so large that to cross it would take not weeks, not months, but perhaps years. Its depths swallowed light. Its storms rose like walls of water, black against the sky. The ocean was alive, teeming with creatures long vanished. Armored fish. Coiled ammonites, their shells shimmering like alien moons. Reptiles that ruled the seas, sleek and merciless. The tides of Panthalassa echoed against Pangea's coasts, sculpting cliffs, feeding deltas, carrying the whispers of storms across endless shores. To live by that ocean was to live at the edge of infinity. Pangea was not gentle. Its heart baked under merciless sun. Its coasts lashed with endless storms. Its forests shadowed by predators with teeth like daggers. Its skies split by volcanic fire. And yet, it was alive. So alive in ways both strange and familiar. Every breath, every shadow, every sound carried the weight of deep time. A reminder that Earth is not ours to keep. It is a stage, vast, ancient, ever-changing. And we are only guests. This is only the beginning of our journey into Pangea. The land of unity. The land of storms. The land of beginnings and endings. If you've enjoyed this first step into deep time, remember, subscribe and click like. It helps me create more journeys like this one. More stories to soothe your nights and awaken your imagination. For now, rest easy. The story of Pangea will continue. The land was vast. The forests endless. The deserts silent. But what gave Pangea its true spirit were its inhabitants. Creatures. Shadows of our own ancestors. Beasts so alien, so magnificent, so terrifying, that they haunt our imagination even now. Welcome to the life of Pangea. Step quietly into the undergrowth. Beneath the towering horsetails and ferns, the ground itself shivers with motion. There, a rustle. A shimmer of iridescent wings. A dragonfly rises. Not small, delicate, fragile, but colossal. Its wings stretch wider than your arms. Its eyes are orbs of green fire. It darts like lightning through shafts of golden light, hunting with the precision of a predator. This was Meganura, the giant dragonfly. Its ancestors once ruled the air long before birds. And here, in the oxygen-rich atmosphere of Pangea, it soared as a master of the skies. But it was not alone. Beneath fallen logs, Arthropleura creeps. A millipede, black and gleaming, longer than a man. Its countless legs ripple in waves, carrying its segmented body across the damp earth. Leaves crackle beneath its armored frame. In the shadows, crickets and beetles click and hiss, but their voices are thunderous compared to modern song. For in a world of giants, even the smallest sounds swell to fill the silence. Close your eyes. Hear it. The buzz of wings. The rasp of legs. The chorus of insects older than flowers. This was the music of Pangea's forests. Follow me down to the riverbank. Here, the water glimmers under a canopy of ferns. At the edge, something stirs. A shadow slips into the shallows, its body sleek, its skin wet and glistening. Its head, broad, heavy, crocodilian. But its eyes are strange, fixed in a way that betrays its amphibian nature. This is a temnospondyle, a giant amphibian. Neither frog nor salamander, but a predator in its own right. It waits, motionless, until a smaller creature ventures near. Then strike. The jaws snap shut. The water ripples red. These were the rulers of the rivers. Hunters of the twilight. Amphibians as long as cars, lurking in silence, waiting for prey to stumble too close. To live near a river in Pangea was to live in constant fear. The water itself was watching you. But it was on land that the true heirs of Earth began their ascent. Walk with me across a sun-scorched plain. The ground is cracked, baked, and lifeless. But wait. There, a movement. A creature strides forward. Not a lizard, not quite a dinosaur, but something in between. Its body is lean, muscular, its stance upright. Its teeth glisten in the heat. This is an archosaur, one of the ancient ancestors of both crocodiles and dinosaurs. A predator designed by evolution's steady hand, built for survival, speed, and domination. These archosaurs hunted in packs. They stalked the edges of forests. They thrived where weaker creatures perished. And though they were not yet dinosaurs, They were the shadows of what was to come. Pangea was their crucible, and in its fire they rose. But the world of Pangea was not only reptiles. Look closer. In the shadows of the ferns, under the shelter of fallen trunks, you see them. Small, whiskered, warm-blooded. Eyes bright. Bodies quick, twitching, alert. These are therapsids, the beast-like reptiles. Not quite mammals. Not quite lizards. But something in between. They nursed their young. They burrowed in the soil. They lived in families. And though they seemed insignificant among the giants of their world, they carried the spark of the future. Every mouse, every cat, every dog, every human. We are their legacy. In the silence of Pangea's nights, as predators roared and storms split the skies, these small, warm-bodied creatures huddled together. They endured. And in enduring, they ensured that one day, mammals would rise. But survival was not easy. The land was patrolled by killers. Predators that stalked with silence, struck with speed, and killed with efficiency. Some were gorgonopsids, creatures with saber-like teeth, longer than knives, their eyes burning with feral hunger. They prowled the plains, swift and merciless, their jaws designed to tear through flesh and bone alike. Others were sleek, crocodile-like hunters, lurking at the edges of swamps, blending with shadows until the perfect moment to strike. And above all, the sky carried terror as well. Strange winged reptiles, not yet the masters of the air but pioneers. Their leathery wings cast shadows upon the ground. Their cries echoed across valleys. Pangea was not gentle. It was a proving ground. And to live here was to fight, every single day. The sun sets. The desert cools. The forests fall silent. But in the darkness, the world does not sleep. Eyes glow in the undergrowth. Creatures stir, cautious but hungry. The night belongs to the small, the swift, the desperate. Above, the stars blaze brighter than ever. The Milky Way arches across the heavens. The constellations are unfamiliar, the sky itself younger, different, alive with fire. And there, in the silence, the heartbeat of Earth continues. The ground trembles faintly as if reminding every creature, every tree, every breath of wind. Change is coming. Always change. The world of Pangea was alive with giants. But it was also alive with whispers, the quiet persistence of the small, the fragile, the overlooked. For in the story of life, it is not always the strongest who endure. It is those who adapt. And so, as we drift deeper into Pangea's nights, let us remember, every shadow, every roar, every heartbeat, echoes still within us. If this journey stirs your imagination, don't forget, like and subscribe. Your support allows me to craft more of these long voyages through time, stories to carry you into sleep and into wonder. Pangea holds more secrets. The storms, the cataclysms, the breaking apart of a supercontinent. All this awaits. The skies above Pangea were restless, unforgiving. When rain came, it did not fall gently. It came as floods, as tempests, as storms that swallowed the horizon. And when the skies were dry, the land cracked, split, and baked beneath the merciless sun. This was a world of extremes. A supercontinent where balance did not exist. At the very heart of Pangea lay a truth few could endure. From the sea to the center, there were thousands of kilometers of land. No ocean breezes. No relief from water. Only desert, stretching beyond the imagination. Here, the sun hammered down like a relentless forge. Temperatures soared to levels few creatures could withstand. The soil cracked open into canyons of dust. Life struggled, clinging to rare oases, dwindling streams, and stubborn roots. In these vast deserts, death was constant. But where life survived, it adapted. It grew stronger, sharper, more cunning. For only the fierce could call the heart of Pangea home. But while the heart burned, the edges drowned. Along the coasts, where Panthalas's mighty waters pressed against Pangea's stone, storms were born. Not small, fleeting tempests, but titans. Winds screamed across open seas without mountains to break them. Clouds towered higher than mountains, black and heavy with rain. Lightning struck the surface of the ocean in endless arcs, boiling the water in flashes of fire. And when these storms made landfall, they devoured everything. Forests splintered. Rivers swelled into walls of water. Creatures fled, only to be swallowed whole by the chaos. The storms of Pangea were not weather. They were gods. And every creature beneath them was at their mercy. Yet even in fury, earth creates. As Pangea formed, mountains tore themselves skyward. Collisions of plates crushed stone against stone, forcing peaks to rise into the heavens. The central Pangean mountains, stretching where Africa met North America, cast shadows across entire regions. Imagine their scale. Snow-capped summits piercing clouds. Valleys so deep they never saw the sun. Rivers roaring down from the heights, carving canyons into the land below. In those heights, storms gathered strength. Thunder rolled across peaks for hours, echoing through the valleys like drums of war. Yet in their shelter, life thrived, streams feeding lush forests, soils rich with minerals, niches where new species took root. The mountains were harsh, but they were also generous. A paradox like the earth itself. But not all creation came gently. The earth's crust, stretched and strained by the weight of Pangea, cracked and bled. Volcanoes dotted the land like fiery wounds. Some were small, smoking mountains. Others were cataclysmic calderas, capable of blotting out the sun. When they erupted, the skies rained ash. The air grew heavy with poison. Forests withered beneath a shroud of darkness. Rivers turned to sludge. And yet, life persisted. Around the edges of lava flows, plants returned. In the cracks of cooling stone, creatures crept back. For every destruction, the earth whispered renewal. It was a cycle as old as time itself. Fire and ash, death and rebirth. But beneath all this, the deserts, the storms, the mountains, the fire, another force was stirring. A quiet, unstoppable force. Change. The plates of earth never rest. And though they had fused to form the colossus of Pangea, they were never at peace. Deep beneath the surface, heat pooled. Currents in the mantle pushed and pulled. The land groaned. The seams of Pangea began to weaken. At first, the cracks were invisible. A tremor here, a rift there. But slowly, inevitably, they grew. The supercontinent would not last forever. One day it would tear itself apart. One day it would scatter across the globe, giving birth to the world we know. But in Pangea's prime, these were only whispers, foreshadowings of the end. Imagine living in this world. A mammal-like reptile burrows into the earth, escaping the heat of the desert sun. Above, a giant dragonfly darts through humid air, wings shimmering in the storm's glow. In the distance, an archosaur prowls, eyes sharp, teeth gleaming. Every moment is survival. Every shadow could mean death. Every breath is borrowed. And yet, life thrived. In every corner of Pangea, creatures adapted. From the deserts to the coasts, from the mountains to the swamps, from the forests to the rivers. It was a fragile balance, but it held. For now, Pangea was violent. It was merciless, but it was also breathtaking. Stand at the edge of its deserts and watch the sun sink, red, vast, endless. Climb its mountains and hear the wind roar like the breath of gods. Walk its coasts and see storms born of oceans that stretch beyond imagination. This was not just a land. It was a world entire. And though it is gone, lost to the tides of time, its echoes remain. In the stone beneath our feet. In the fossils of creatures long dead. In the very shape of our continents, scattered like puzzle pieces torn apart. Pangea lives on, in memory, in science, in imagination. And tonight, in your dreams. This was the world of storms. The world of fire. The world of beginnings and endings. If you're enjoying this journey, please like and subscribe. It allows me to bring you more stories like this one. Stories to carry you through the night, to stir wonder, to quiet the mind. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. And let Pangea surround you. For the story continues. The creatures will evolve. The land will fracture. And from the ruins, new worlds will be born. Every world has its trials. Every age its reckoning. For Pangea, that reckoning came not once, but many times. Fire. Darkness. Extinction. And from the ashes, the birth of something new. 252 million years ago, Earth faced its greatest catastrophe. An extinction unlike any before or since. The Permian-Triassic extinction. The Great Dying. More than 90% of life in the oceans vanished. 70% of life on land was erased. Forests withered. Rivers ran barren. Skies grew black with ash and smoke. It began with fire. Massive volcanic eruptions tore through what is now Siberia. For hundreds of thousands of years, lava flooded the land. Gases bled into the sky, poisoning air and sea. Carbon filled the atmosphere, choking the planet in heat. Methane rose from the oceans, suffocating life. Imagine walking through that world. A sky the color of blood. The air heavy, toxic, difficult to breathe. Forests falling silent, their leaves curling into ash. Oceans turning green, stagnant, lifeless. The earth itself seemed to betray its children. And for a moment it seemed all would end. But even in the darkest hours, life clung to existence. The therapsids, small and stubborn, hid in burrows, feeding on insects and roots. Their bodies endured where giants failed. In the rivers, amphibians held on, silent, patient. Insects, resilient as ever, buzzed and crawled, their tiny empires untouched by apocalypse. It was not grandeur that survived. It was persistence. The meek endured. And in time, the world stirred again. From silence came a new sound. From ash a new shape. Small at first. Fragile. Almost unnoticed. But they grew. They spread. They rose. The dinosaurs. At first, they were no more impressive than swift lizards, light-footed hunters darting across plains, scavengers picking through the bones of fallen empires. But evolution worked quickly. Stronger jaws, longer legs, sharper teeth. Soon they were not just survivors. They were rulers. On the plains of Pangea they hunted. In the forests they stalked. By the rivers they waited. And as centuries passed they grew into the titans we know, the thunder lizards, the giants of earth. Pangea was their cradle, their proving ground, their throne. But not all rulers wore the crown of dinosaur. In the Triassic age of Pangea, other predators thrived. The phytosaurs, crocodile-like hunters, their jaws long, their bodies armored. They lurked in rivers and lakes, their eyes just above the waterline, patient, waiting. The Rauisuchians, towering, terrifying archosaurs, walking upright like dinosaurs but separate from them, with skulls massive and teeth like swords. For a time they were the apex killers of the land. And scattered across the forests were smaller predators, swift, intelligent, relentless. Each shaping the delicate balance of Pangea's ecosystems. It was a world in flux, a world testing new designs, a laboratory of evolution. And in that crucible, dinosaurs began their slow ascent to dominance. Do not forget the seas. Even after the Great Dying, Panthalassa stirred with new life. Sleek reptiles replaced the old fish lords. Ichthyosaurs, swift, dolphin-like hunters, cut through the waves. Nothosaurs slid through shallows, their limbs both paddles and claws. And strange shelled creatures, ammonites and nautiloids, spun in spirals of shell and color, drifting like living jewels. The oceans had been emptied. But nature abhors emptiness. And so the seas filled again, with new monsters, new mysteries, new wonders. But while life rebuilt, the earth itself plotted change. Beneath Pangea, the mantle seethed. Heat rose, pressing, straining against the crust. The plates groaned, whispering of separation. Rifts began to open. Valleys deepened into scars. Mountains strained and fractured. It was slow, unbearably slow to human eyes. Centuries passed like single footsteps. But the cracks were there. Invisible to those who walked upon it. Unstoppable to the earth itself. The beginning of the end. The slow unraveling of Pangea. Yet through fire, through storms, through extinction, life did not merely endure. It flourished. The forests returned, green and dense, humming with insects and reptiles. The rivers flowed again, feeding swamps and deltas rich with amphibians. The skies filled with winged reptiles, their silhouettes strange against the setting sun. And on the plains the dinosaurs grew. Stronger, larger, bolder. From the smallest scavenger to the greatest predator, they ruled the land with a presence that shook the earth. Pangea was no longer a silent grave. It was alive again. vibrant, ferocious. But beneath its strength, the cracks widened. Change was coming. Every age believes it is eternal. But eternity is an illusion. The creatures of Pangea, the dragons of forest and desert, the hunters of swamp and sea, they knew nothing of endings. They lived, they fought, they bred, they died. But the earth was already writing their fate. For no continent lasts forever. And no ruler, no matter how mighty, escapes the tides of time. Pangea would break. Its children would scatter. Its storms would fade. But its memory would linger, carved into stone, whispered by fossils, echoing in the shapes of the lands we know today. This was Pangea after fire, after death, after rebirth, the land of dinosaurs' dawn, the land of predators' shadows, the land preparing silently for its own undoing. Breathe deeply. Let the storms fade, and rest, for the story of Pangea is far from over. The fire has passed. The storms have softened. Life, once humbled, now surges with new strength. This is Pangea in its prime. The Golden Age. The age of dinosaurs. The sun rises over the endless plains of central Pangea. Golden light spills across grassless ground, painting the world in red and amber. Ferns and cycads sway gently, releasing the scent of green life. And there, a shadow moves. Massive, slow, majestic. A sauropodomorph, ancestor of the great long-necked giants. Its neck arches like a living tower reaching toward the treetops. Each step shakes the earth. Its skin, rough and mottled, gleams with morning dew. It tears leaves from the canopy with a deep, grinding crunch. Steam rises from its nostrils in the cool dawn. This is the heartbeat of Pangea now. The thunder of giants. Look further. The plains are alive with movement. Herds gather, dozens, hundreds of creatures moving as one. Small, nimble ornithischians, their beaks snapping at low plants. Armored herbivores, their backs bristling with plates and spikes, ready for predators' teeth. And towering above them all, the sauropods, titans of bone and sinew, each step echoing like a drum. Their calls carry for miles, deep bellows, high cries, the language of survival. A living symphony of thunder lizards, united in rhythm, their migrations carving paths across the continent. The earth itself trembles beneath them. But where there are herds, there are hunters. In the shadows, beneath the cover of cycads, they wait. Lean bodies, keen eyes, teeth gleaming in the half-light. Early theropods, swift, two-legged predators. Not yet the titans of later ages, but deadly nonetheless. They stalk in silence. They test the edges of the herd, watching for weakness. A limping juvenile, a distracted straggler. When they strike, it is sudden, explosive. Claws flash, jaws snap. The air fills with dust, cries, and chaos. And yet the herd endures. For every victim claimed, dozens survive, pressing onward, relentless. This is the eternal dance. Predator and prey. Hunger and survival. Beyond the plains, the forests of Pangea stretch vast and endless. Towering conifers cast shadows like cathedral pillars. Ferns blanket the ground in emerald waves. Streams glimmer in dappled light, feeding roots and quenching thirst. Here smaller dinosaurs thrive. Quick-footed herbivores dart between trunks, feeding in safety. Bird-like reptiles perch on branches, their cries sharp and piercing. Insects hum in thick clouds, a constant living veil. And in the shadows, the mammal-like reptiles still endure. Small, whiskered creatures scurry, their eyes gleaming. They feed, they burrow, they survive. The forest is not just alive. It is a kingdom. Rich, fertile, eternal. Follow the water's edge. The rivers of Pangea are vast, their currents swollen by storms from Panthalassa. On the banks, immense creatures graze. Their long necks dip into the shallows, their tails sweep like whips behind them. Fish scatter in panic at their steps. But the rivers hide dangers of their own. Beneath the surface, phytosaurs lurk, their eyes breaking the waterline. They drift like shadows waiting for the unwary. A young dinosaur approaches to drink. Silence. Then, explosion. Water surges. Jaws snap shut. The river swallows its prize. The cycle continues. Life feeding life. survival written in blood. Yet the river endures, carrying on as if nothing had happened. Indifferent, eternal. Above it all, the skies of Pangea. Not filled with birds, for birds had not yet risen, but with pioneers, the pterosaurs. Leathery wings stretched across the heavens. Some small, flitting like bats. Others vast, their wings casting shadows across the land. They circle above rivers, darting down to snatch fish. They ride the storms, drifting on currents of air. Their cries echo across valleys, a strange chorus of the ancient sky. They are not yet masters of flight, but they are its first dreamers. And in their wings the future takes shape. Do not imagine this world in gray. The forests gleamed with emerald and jade. The deserts burned in ochre and gold. The oceans shimmered in sapphire, capped with white foam from endless storms. And the creatures themselves, far from dull, wore the colors of survival. Stripes for camouflage, bright crests for display. Scales shimmering in sunlight, feathers beginning to sprout in delicate plumes. This was not a drab world. It was painted in fire and life. A canvas more vivid than we can fully imagine. This was Pangea at balance. Predators hunted. Prey thrived. Forests grew. Rivers flowed. The land was whole. The supercontinent unbroken. But beneath the harmony the tension remained. The plates still pressed. The mantle still stirred. The cracks still deepened. And though the creatures knew nothing of it, the earth was preparing to shatter, preparing to scatter its children to the winds. This was the golden age, the symphony of herds, the shadows of hunters, the rise of giants. But golden ages never last. Pangea would not endure. Its cracks would widen, its lands would divide, and from its breaking the world we know would be born. Now, close your eyes, listen to the thunder of giants, feel the breath of forest, and rest, for the story of Pangea is only halfway told. Every empire falls, every mountain crumbles, and even the greatest of continents cannot last forever. Pangea was no exception, for while life thrived on its surface, the world beneath plotted change. A slow, relentless change. The first whispers of division. Deep beneath the crust of Pangea, heat gathered. Mantle plumes rose, columns of molten rock pressing upward, burning against the weight of stone. The land groaned. Tension spread like invisible lightning, threading cracks across the heart of the supercontinent. At first these rifts were small. Valleys deepening, lakes forming where the crust sank. But with each century they widened. The earth does not ask. It only takes. And slowly it began to take Pangea apart. Where land cracked, water followed. Rivers widened into gulfs. Gulfs stretched into seas. The seas swelled, swallowing valleys and forests, until new oceans were born. The first great rift tore between what would one day be Africa and North America. Water rushed in, creating the early Atlantic Ocean. Small at first, narrow, almost timid, but it would grow, and grow, until it would swallow half the planet. The Panthalassa Ocean, once endless, now had a rival. A new ocean born from the death of unity. But with every tear in the land came suffering. Forests once whole were split apart, their rivers diverted, their climates changed. Herds that once roamed endless plains found their paths cut by seas. Predators lost their hunting grounds, forced into new territories. And with change came extinction. Not as sudden as the great dying. Not as catastrophic as fire and ash. But slower, subtler. 1,000 small endings scattered across the centuries. For when the land changes, life must follow. And not all life can. Where continents split, fire erupted. Rift valleys bled magma. Fountains of lava painted the night sky red. Ash drifted for miles, choking the lungs of creatures below. One of the greatest eruptions came with the opening of the Atlantic. The Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, an eruption so vast it flooded millions of square kilometers with molten rock. The skies filled with gas. The climate shifted violently. And once again life suffered. Another wave of extinction swept across Pangea, silencing many of its creatures. But still, the earth moved on. And still, some survived. From chaos, opportunity. The Triassic gave way to the Jurassic, and with it came the true reign of dinosaurs. Sauropods grew to titanic size, their necks sweeping across entire forests. Theropods sharpened their claws, their teeth, their cunning. New lineages spread, filling niches left vacant by the fallen. As Pangea fractured, isolation bred diversity. Species once united now walked separate lands. Each corner of the breaking continent became its own stage, its own experiment in evolution. This was not just the age of dinosaurs. It was the age of difference, the birth of new worlds. In the heart of Pangea, where deserts once stretched endless and dry, the climate began to shift. As continents pulled apart, new coastlines formed. Moisture returned to places once barren. Rain fell where for millions of years the sun had ruled. The deserts shrank. Forests spread. Life poured into the cracks, filling every niche with abundance. The land that had once been furnace and tomb became green again. The scars of division healed with life. The new oceans did more than reshape the land. They reshaped the skies. Currents shifted. Winds carried storms to new coasts. Rains fell where drought once lingered. Snow formed on peaks that had never seen it. The climate of Earth transformed, not suddenly but steadily. Every creature felt it. Every forest adapted. Every herd, every predator, every insect danced to the rhythm of winds born from the tearing of Pangea. As Pangea fractured, it did not simply split in two. It splintered into many. The north became Laurasia. The south, Gondwana. From them, smaller fragments would drift. South America, Africa, North America, Eurasia, Australia, Antarctica, India. Each fragment carried its children, herds of dinosaurs, swarms of insects, families of reptiles, drifting into new fates. The world was no longer one, it was many. A mosaic scattered across the globe. And though those continents still drift today, their journey began here, in the slow, silent breaking of Pangea. And yet, though the land was torn, the memory of Pangea endured. Look at a modern map. See how the pieces fit. South America curving into Africa. North America pressing against Europe. India drifting northward toward Asia. The puzzle is not perfect, but the outline is there. The ghost of a supercontinent. Pangea is gone, but its echo lingers in every shoreline, in every mountain range, in every fossil unearthed from stone. The earth remembers, and so do we. This was the breaking of Pangea, the end of unity, the birth of oceans, the scattering of worlds. And yet, from division came beauty, from fracture, diversity, from endings, beginnings. If this journey has carried you deeper into wonder, please like and subscribe. With your support, I can continue these long voyages, into past worlds, into future dreams, into the endless story of Earth. Breathe deeply. Let the sound of oceans fill your mind. Rest as the supercontinent drifts apart. For the story is not finished. Not yet. The age of unity was over. The age of Pangea, gone. But endings are only beginnings. For from the fracture of stone came the flowering of life. And the earth, once one, now became many. Laurasia to the north. Gondwana to the south. The planet divided. And from each division, new lands, new skies, new seas. South America began its lonely drift westward. Africa split and turned. India broke free, sailing north like a runaway ship. Antarctica and Australia spun into isolation at the edge of the world. Every continent a seed, carried by the invisible currents of the Earth's mantle. Every fragment destined to grow its own wonders. This was not the end of life. This was its expansion. Separation is opportunity. When herds are cut apart, when predators are trapped on islands, when climates shift, evolution accelerates. On one land, sauropods grew to unimaginable size, their necks sweeping higher than ever before. On another, predators sharpened their claws, their eyes, their cunning, until they became the deadliest hunters the world had ever seen. Feathers sprouted in more species, brightening the skies with color. Small mammals grew bolder, finding niches that giants could not fill. Every island, every continent, every coast, a new experiment, a new story. As the land split, the seas rejoiced. The newborn Atlantic widened, its currents rushing like veins through the body of the earth. The Indian Ocean stirred into being, carrying warmth and storms across Gondwana's shattered edges. The Pacific, once Panthalassa, shrank, reshaped, but remained vast beyond imagination. These oceans were not barriers. They were highways. Currents carried nutrients, storms, and even drifting life. They wove the continents into a web of difference and connection. The earth was no longer one land, but it was one system, breathing, moving, alive. Now the world bloomed with kingdoms of life unlike any before. In the north, forests thick with conifers and cycads rang with the calls of new theropods, sleek, sharp, swift. In the south, deserts stretched again, but life there was strange. Massive herbivores adapted to scarcity, predators lean and relentless. On the coasts, vast wetlands teemed with crocodile-like reptiles, turtles, and the first whispers of true birds. In the skies, pterosaurs reached their zenith, some small as sparrows, others vast as airplanes, soaring across oceans with wings that seemed endless. Each continent told its own story. Each fragment became a stage. Together they formed a planet alive with difference. This was the age of titans. In Africa, sauropods such as Brachiosaurus towered, their necks rising like living cranes into the canopy. In South America, the ground shook beneath the weight of Argentinosaurus, one of the largest creatures to ever walk the earth. And across the lands, predators followed, razor-toothed hunters like Allosaurus, cunning, relentless shadows of death. The giants of this fractured world were not confined by Pangea. They spread, they thrived, they ruled. The earth itself seemed to celebrate their reign. But even as giants walked the earth, small revolutions stirred. Feathers spread, not only for warmth, not only for display, but for flight. From humble, feathered hunters came the first true birds. They filled the skies once ruled by pterosaurs. Their calls pierced dawns and dusks, bringing music to a world already rich with sound. And though small, fragile, and delicate, these feathered ones carried within them a future that would outlast the giants. Beneath the feet of dinosaurs, mammals still crept, small, nocturnal, overshadowed. But they were survivors. They could eat what others could not. They could live where others could not. They birthed live young, nurtured them, protected them. And in their shadows lay destiny. For when the giants fell, it would be the mammals who inherited the earth. But for now they waited, patient, silent, eternal. Step back. See the world whole again. Not one continent, but many. Not one ocean, but several. Storms swirling across vast waters. Forests gleaming in green. Mountains rising on drifting plates. Deserts painted gold beneath an endless sun. The earth had become a patchwork. A mosaic of difference. A masterpiece of diversity. And in this separation was beauty. A beauty born from fracture. A beauty that endures to this day. This was the earth after Pangea. A world divided. A world alive. A world of giants, of hunters, of flight, of shadows. And though Pangea was gone, it had given birth to everything. Our continents, our climates, our histories, even us. We have journeyed through fire and ash, through storms and death, through life that clung with stubborn will. We have watched giants walk, predators hunt, and the first birds rise into the sky. But Pangea's true story is not only of land and creatures. It is the story of legacy, of how one supercontinent shaped the destiny of everything to come. Look beneath the earth. Fossils lie in sediment, whispers of the past. Skeletons of giant sauropods. Teeth of predators long gone. Tiny skulls of mammal-like reptiles, ancestors of everything that would come after. These bones tell us a story of survival, of adaptation, of a world that lived, died, and changed. Even in death, life left a mark. Pangea's breakup scattered more than land. It scattered opportunity. Isolated continents became laboratories for evolution. Creatures that once shared a single home now diverged into endless forms. Birds evolved from feathered hunters. Mammals adapted to shadows and night. Dinosaurs grew larger, stranger, more magnificent than ever. Pangea's division was not an end. It was a beginning. The spark of the modern world. Time itself shaped the earth. Mountains rose and eroded. Rivers carved canyons. Oceans widened and shifted. Every crack in Pangea's surface, every rift, every fracture, a path for life to follow. From these cracks, continents drifted apart. Species drifted apart. Worlds drifted apart. And yet connected still. By air, by water, by the invisible threads of life. This is the lesson of Pangea. Nothing lasts forever, but everything leaves a mark. Every creature, every forest, every ocean. Even in separation, even in death, life finds a way. Now imagine the earth today. The continents scattered, oceans stretching between them. Yet beneath the modern world lies the ghost of Pangea. The shapes of coastlines, the patterns of life, the lineage of every creature. The supercontinent's memory is everywhere. When continents split, evolution painted in vivid strokes. Africa became the cradle of massive dinosaurs. South America nurtured giants unmatched elsewhere. India drifted northward, carrying unique species that would shape future ecosystems. Antarctica and Australia hosted creatures found nowhere else. Isolation drove diversity. The same Earth, divided, created endless possibilities. And somewhere in the shadows of the giants, the small mammals thrived. The tiny, nocturnal survivors of the great dying and Pangea's chaos carried a spark. The spark of endurance. The spark of intelligence. The spark of humanity. Every creature that survived Pangea's storms, extinctions, and fractures played a role in the story of life. A story that would eventually lead to us. The oceans remember too. Panthalassa, the great ancient ocean, shrank but endured. The Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans, born from Pangea's cracks, carried life across continents. Currents and tides shaped climates, fed ecosystems, and connected distant lands. The earth was alive, flowing, shifting, evolving. Pangea may have broken, but its heartbeat continued in the rhythm of waves. As we close our eyes tonight, remember this. The world we know, the creatures that roam it, the lands we walk, all were shaped by a continent that existed only in dreams. Pangea gave birth to everything. And even in its absence, it whispers in stone, water, and sky. Tonight, we leave Pangea behind. Not as an end, but as a legacy. A continent that was home to giants, to predators, to the first birds and mammals, to forests, deserts, and oceans beyond imagining. It shaped life itself. It sculpted the modern world. It carved the path that led to us. Every fossil is a story. Every mountain, every coastline, every ancient river. A memory of Pangea's reign. The earth carries these echoes in silence. In the drift of continents. In the migration of species. In the rise of humanity. And if we listen closely, we can hear them still. Close your eyes. Walk through the deserts of Pangea. Stand in forests taller than skyscrapers. Watch sauropods sweep across plains. Hear the cries of predators in rivers. Feel the wind above oceans that stretched forever. This was a world alive, terrifying, beautiful, boundless. And though it is gone, it lives in our imagination. A story to soothe, to inspire, to carry us into dreams. As we drift to sleep tonight, let us honor Pangea, the supercontinent that was, the force that shaped life, the silent architect of our world. And remember, every ending is a beginning, every fracture a chance for life to grow, every whisper of stone and ocean, a story waiting to be told. Pangea, long gone, yet its heartbeat still echoes through every mountain, every river, every ocean. The continents may have drifted apart, but the legacy of this supercontinent flows through every living thing, every mammal, every bird, every tree, every insect, every predator. As Laurasia and Gondwana separated, life responded. Oceans carried nutrients to newly formed coasts. Isolated landmasses became natural laboratories for evolution. Species that had once shared the same home began to diverge. Over millions of years, this divergence painted the earth with a palette of biodiversity beyond imagination. Forests thickened on Laurasia, teeming with conifers, cycads, and ferns. Theropods hunted in packs, testing intelligence and coordination. Herbivorous dinosaurs developed defensive structures, spikes, armor, and size, in response to the growing ingenuity of predators. On Gondwana, deserts and river valleys saw enormous sauropods dominate, while smaller, clever mammals navigated a landscape of survival and scarcity. Every corner of the planet became a stage for life's grand experiment. The newly formed oceans shaped climates in ways Pangea never could. Currents transported heat from equator to poles. Storms shifted, sometimes violent, sometimes gentle, sculpting coasts and wetlands. Mangroves and tidal forests formed along shores, sheltering life and nurturing new ecosystems. In the skies, pterosaurs evolved into increasingly daring forms, some small and agile, others with wingspans rivaling small aircraft. Birds, descendants of small feathered dinosaurs, began experimenting with flight mechanics, courtship displays, and survival strategies. The skies themselves became arenas of life, beauty, and silent competition. Separation accelerated evolution. On isolated continents, species radiated into every available niche. Gigantic herbivores became common where predators were fewer, and predatory strategies grew more complex where prey was abundant. Feathers diversified, for insulation, display, and early flight. Reptiles adapted to water and land in new forms. Small mammals thrived under the shadow of giants, developing sensory adaptations, nocturnal habits, and reproductive strategies that ensured their survival. Even plants evolved. Conifers, cycads, ferns, each adapted to the microclimates of their new continents. Flowering plants, the angiosperms, began to emerge slowly, promising a future explosion of color, food, and ecological relationships. The Earth was alive with innovation. A continent no longer united, but now fertile in opportunity. Imagine the dance of life across millions of years. A small mammal darts beneath the legs of a towering sauropod, avoiding predators in the underbrush. Theropods hunt in shadows, testing speed, coordination, and patience. Pterosaurs glide over lakes, skimming fish from the surface with precision. Insects swarm in dazzling clouds, pollinating plants that will shape entire ecosystems. Every interaction, subtle or violent, is part of the symphony of life. Predation, cooperation, adaptation, extinction, renewal. The Earth hums with this rhythm, invisible yet pervasive, as though the ghost of Pangea still whispers. Survive, adapt, thrive. The breakup of Pangea was also the birth of modern climate dynamics. Ocean currents reshaped rainfall patterns. New monsoons developed on drifting continents. Ice sheets appeared at the poles, altering sea levels and coastal ecosystems. Life adapted to this diversity of climates. Deserts hosted creatures specialized in endurance. Wetlands teemed with amphibians and reptiles. Forests grew taller and denser, feeding the ever larger herbivores that walked the lands. Earth was no longer one world. It was many worlds connected by evolution, water, and wind. And in the shadows of dinosaurs and reptiles, mammals quietly laid the groundwork for what would come. Small, resilient, often overlooked, they survived. They experimented. They adapted. They carried the blueprint of intelligence, endurance, and curiosity that would eventually echo through time to humans. The supercontinent of Pangea, long gone, had unknowingly shaped the conditions for life's ultimate experiments. The rise of new species and eventually, us. Pangea's legacy is a symphony written in stone, water, and life. Every fossil, every sediment layer, every ancient coastline tells part of the story. Life's triumphs and tragedies are etched into the planet. And though the continents have drifted, the lessons of Pangea resonate still. Unity can create unimaginable scale. Division fosters diversity. Life persists even against the harshest of odds. Close your eyes and imagine. Vast deserts where none exist. Oceans merging continents that are now oceans apart. Forests stretching uninterrupted for thousands of kilometers. The skies filled with creatures both familiar and alien. It is a world impossible to visit but real in memory. A world that shaped our own. A world that hums in the rocks beneath our feet, in the oceans, in the animals, and in ourselves. Pangea is gone, but it lives on. In life, in legacy, in dreams. Breathe deeply. Let the continents drift. Let the oceans sing. Let Pangea live in your imagination tonight. We have walked the deserts of Pangea. We have stood beneath forests taller than skyscrapers. We have witnessed storms that could swallow continents. We have watched giants roam, predators hunt, and the first birds take flight. And now, we reach the final chapter. Pangea may have shattered. Its continents drifted apart. Its oceans reshaped. Its creatures evolved, diversified, and created new worlds. But its memory endures. Every coastline, every mountain range, every ocean current is a whisper of Pangea. Its influence reaches into every ecosystem, every species, every corner of Earth. The giants that once roamed no longer walk among us. The first birds soar in their place. Mammals, once shadows, now inherit the Earth. And yet, the blueprint remains. Pangea shaped the flow of evolution. It sculpted continents, oceans, and climates. It taught life to endure, adapt, and thrive. Look at the world today. Africa, South America, India, Antarctica, Australia, each carries life shaped by isolation. Species separated by millions of years, yet connected by a shared past. The rhythms of nature, predator and prey, growth and decay, survival and extinction, all trace their roots to Pangea. Even humanity owes its existence to this ancient supercontinent. Life learned resilience here. Life learned innovation. Life learned endurance. Imagine the planet as a living symphony. Oceans hum. Rivers flow. Forests whisper. Mountains stand as drums of stone. Life plays its melodies, subtle and grand, across every continent. Pangea is the overture. Its breakup the crescendo. And the modern world, our world, the ongoing movement of this eternal composition. Every fossil, every landscape, every living creature is a note. A reminder. A story. Close your eyes. Walk once more through the golden age of dinosaurs. Stand at the edge of rivers where phytosaurs wait. Climb the heights of mountains still forming under Pangea's weight. Hear the calls of pterosaurs in the sky. Feel the wind carrying the whispers of continents yet to drift. This was a world alive. Vast. Dangerous. Beautiful. Infinite. And though it exists only in memory, in stone, and in imagination, Pangea lives on. As we drift into sleep tonight, let us honor this supercontinent. The land of storms and fire. The land of forests and rivers. The land that gave birth to dinosaurs, mammals, and eventually, us. Pangea reminds us that life is persistent. That change is inevitable. That endings are beginnings. Its legacy flows in our blood. In the oceans. In the mountains. In the winds that sweep across the earth. And in our dreams, it walks again. If this journey has awakened wonder in your heart, please like and subscribe. It allows me to share more stories of Earth's lost worlds, guiding you into sleep while exploring the mysteries of our planet. Good night. Dream of giants. Dream of oceans. Dream of Pangea.